500 plus views last week already. It's very close to 1,500 views for this week as well. Great to have the likes of Troy Dolinchik that was on the show with us. But tonight it's all about West Province Sports and GT Masters season number 8. Can you believe it? Round number 2 from Donington Park using the Grand Prix layout and in the iconic DALLARA F3s. Joining me as always, our regular commentator for Kalani International, for Kleinplassie Raceway, for Cape L drivers, for Vescus Oval, for West Province Karting, and all the other circuits throughout South Africa. The voice of West Province Motorsport, Frankie Yennis. Frankie, once again, good evening to you and welcome to the Second Gear Production Studio.
How's it, Gaza? Hello, everybody at home watching this one. Man, this is going to be good stuff. We come to you from the city of Castle in Donington. Outside temperature 19 degrees, 54% chance of rain, although I doubt that very much. Cloudy, 3k an hour wind, and track temperature 23 degrees, and we're almost 4 kilometers above sea level.
Well, that's quite high, but I think these normally aspirated motors can handle that pretty well. So as you said, the DALLARA F3 from Donington is the Grand Prix layout. And Leonardo Beccari, the man that you see on screen there with the qualifying session, 2 minutes and 10 seconds in of the 10-minute. It's a lone qualifying, so each of those drivers out on circuit, they will only see themselves out there. They can't be bulked or knocked or hassled by anybody else. We'll do a lap with one of the top races for you a little bit later on. I have done a couple of laps on this circuit, and there's a couple of blind risers and blind exits, a fair amount of elevation on the circuit as such. Let's just put up a track map for you. That's what the track looks like, and that section that you see there now is the part that breaks away. They don't go through the S-bend and back onto the front main to the start-finish line, where you'll see that red dot right at the top. That's that U-turn that he's making there now. That is in fact the man on screen, Leonardo Beccari, the man that's taken over the reins for initially now for the initial part of 2023 West Province Sports and GT Masters season number 7. And Francois Hubert just finished his lap. Raymond Duggan in the house as well. And there we go. That's Leonardo Beccari on the 1 minute 24. So everybody that you see coming up on the leaderboard now, that's everybody that's done one lap. Jan Sparmers goes to the top end of the pack.
Yeah, Jan in that number 7 car doing a great job with a 121.178, and he's 300ths of a second quicker than what Peter Hubert is at this point in time. So the Hubert family members are currently in provisional second and third position, with Johan Fourie in that fourth place. That is the 777, the Benson and Hedges Formula 3 DALLARA of Peter Hubert. As we look at the Lego outfit of Pantera Racing's Luke Lucchesi, and he's a 10th of a second in qualifying behind Peter Hubert, currently in that provisional third position.
15 thousandths of a second. That's all that's in it for Francois Hubert off Luke Lucchesi. But that does get him onto the second row of the grid. Johan Fourie at this point finding himself outside of the front two rows. You better believe. You see those cones that I just you saw there. That was where you take the S-bend and you go to the normal Donington Park circuit as such, and you then go to the Grand Prix layout, and that brings this extra piece in. And well, let's keep an eye. I see Frankie just indicating there, Peter Hubert by 4 thousandths of a second goes to the top end of the grid. Right, so Johan Veree now been knocked down into that 8th position. It's not going good for him whatsoever at this stage of the fight. Not exactly where he wants to be, and he finds himself a long way down. Going back to Peter Hubert. Oh, Peter Hubert was right up top, and he's now got himself into a situation where he gets knocked down, and Jan Spammers goes to the top end of the field. So Jan Spammers from Peter Hubert, they have both completed their laps as such. There you see Peter Hubert slowing down. Swys Hubert finds himself on the 3rd row of the grid. And then Luc Lucchesi, surprisingly, Frankie, Luc Lucchesi finds himself a long way down, because Luc Lucchesi is all the way down with the Lego car, as you refer to it, down in 8th position. Timothy Stanton, he's still out there on circuit. And there you see Timothy Stanton, he's going through the last loop. He's got Stephen McCarthy not that far behind him. There's Stephen McCarthy from the 10th place, being knocked down to 11th. He is not that far off. It's just 0.2 of a second is the difference there for him. And Stephen McCarthy finds himself just outside of the top 10. 6 minutes 57 of the 10 minutes gone. He's coming up towards the line now. Let's see if he can maybe somehow make a plan to get a little bit higher up. Nope, that's where it's going to be. He's not going to be able to get himself just that little bit further up and into that top 10. So Timothy's still out there. Gerald Maget is still out there as well. Gerald Maget, you see that's placed in a 12th position. Oh, he runs it right off the circuit, but he's pushing it very hard to try and make up the difference.
Currently finding himself there in that 12th position is Gerald Maget in that number 41 Golf coloured car, and he's busy making his way now through the Fogarty S's, and then he'll run it down behind the pits towards the Melbourne hairpin, and then make a right-handed hairpin, and then work his way towards the final corner, which is Goddard's, and off the circuit he goes and into the wall, recovers the circuit once again, and that will not help Gerald Maget's cause, because he'll still stay there in that P12.
It's going to be a bit of a difficult run to run from there. Let's hope that it all works out for him, that he can get himself just a little bit higher up in that situation that he finds himself, as we just get ourselves sorted out here in studio to make sure that we got everything in the right position. We can bring you all the information as it comes through to you. We're coming towards 8 minutes 42 in total of the time that we have for the qualifying session.
Time is beginning to run out, and it looks as if Jan Spammers is not going to be dethroned off the P1 position, with Peter Hubert in that 2nd position, Francois Hubert in 3rd, Luc Lucchesi P4, Willem Botha P5, P6 belongs to Johan Veree, and it is a heck of a star-studded top 6 out there, with Raymond Duggan, Swys Hubert, Robbie Teens and Timothy Stanton rounding off the top 10. Followed there by Stephen McCarthy, Gerald Maget, Peter van der Spey, Leonardo Bacaro, that now finds himself in Portugal, then Eugene Manouk, and then Ian Riddle. That is a 16 you see out there. Willem Pina will also be in there behind Ian Riddle. And we are about to go racing shortly. Remember that this is going to be a 40-minute race. They will only have a 40% fuel capacity. So with 40% fuel capacity and a 40-minute race, one could think that there is going to be at least one pit stop guaranteed somewhere out amongst this lot. Formula 3 DALLARAs, as the drivers are now beginning to make their way onto the grid. Remember, 17 errors will get you a drive-through. There's no DQ in this one. And we are about to go racing pretty soon here at the circuit at Donington Park in the UK in the Formula 3 DALLARAs and it is almost time to get this one going. We see a few of the drivers have already popped into their grid positions. We're still waiting for Timothy Stanton, for Stephen McCarthy, for Ian Riddle, and a few others, Willem Pienaar, to get themselves into their grid box. And then from there we will go green pretty soon here at Donington Park. So, a few more grid slots still open. I don't see Peter Joubert is there. I didn't see the 777 car, but the Benson and Hedges car is in there. And he has got family members, Swayze Joubert there on his right hand side. Behind Swayze you see Willem Botha is in there, and right there with him as well is Luke Lucchese. You can't miss Luke this evening. He's got that very loud colored car in the Lego colors. Looks like Willem Pienaar. Willem Pienaar grids, and away we go. The lights go off here at Donington Park, and off we go as they work their way down into Redgate Corner. Through Redgate they go now, working their way towards Hollywood. It's a gaggle of Formula 3 cars going through Hollywood, now down that world famous Grano curves. They make their way towards the old hairpin. Through the old hairpin they work their way now, heading towards Starkey's Bridge, and it's Peter Joubert from Jan Sparmers, from Francois Joubert in that third position. They're getting away here from Willem Botha, Luke Lucchese and Johan Fourie as they make their way now towards McLean's. Through McLean's they go, and heading towards Coppice. Out of Coppice they come now, racing down the Starkey Straight. That's it, long Starkey Straight, working their way towards the Fogarty S's. Through the Fogarty S's they go, and Peter Joubert goes wide. He's got Jan Sparmers up on his inside, Gary, as they make their way towards the Melbourne hairpin.
But look who's closing in from behind us, Francois Joubert, 0.3 of a second. Oh, there was something that just went
Willem
off
Botha
behind them. It probably Willem Botha was the man that went off there. Let's see if we can pick up exactly what happened to Willem Botha. And he was right in there. Yeah, Willem Botha turned it around. Luke Lucchese was the first man that got straight through there without any problem or whatsoever. Back to the front end of the field, that's Jan Sparmers. His fastest lap of 128.672. They're already on lap number 2. And looking back from Jan Sparmers, well, looking forward from Johan Sparmers, it looks pretty nice. But frankly, if you look backward, it looks pretty busy.
It's very busy. That is a Peter Joubert all over the back of Jan Sparmers. 0.5 of a second behind him is Francois Joubert. As Peter has a look at Jan, working their way through Starkey's Bridge, heading towards McLean's. Through McLean's they go now, towards Coppice. There they come, out of Coppice. If you had a Formula 1 car, you could have a DRS zone there. Working their way towards the Fogarty S's, and the top 3 is now broken away there from Luke Lucchese. It is Jan Sparmers, Peter Joubert and Francois Joubert. Not too far behind them is Luke Lucchese, followed by Johan Fourie.
So Johan Fourie up into the top 5 there. Swayze Joubert, Robbie Teens moves up on the inside of Gerald Maget. Gerald Maget says, that is far too late on the braking. I'll take that one back from you. Robbie Teens gets himself up on that inside line now. Is he going to be able to have the faster line? No, he's not. Robbie Teens, Gerald Maget, and then Timothy Stanton is in the house as well.
And right behind them in P10 is Leonardo Bakari, as this group makes their way down. Then behind Bakari we've got Ian Riddle. Behind him 0.7 of a second is Stephen McCarthy. He rounds off the top 12. That's a top dozen cars. Stephen McCarthy of Sujin Property and SS Racing. But let's go back to the sharp end of the field. It's Jan Sparmers from Peter Joubert, from Francois Joubert, from Luke Lucchese, and 1.6 seconds behind Lucchese and P5 is Johan Fourie.
Looking at it from the roll bar, look at that. Look at it. It's just so exciting in front of him. 0.3 of a second, closing down, in fact, to 2.6. Great under the braking. Just climbing over those curbstones, missing the markers. Luc Lucchesi up onto Francois Joubert. Francois Joubert is going to go for the inside line. He backs out of it. Francois Joubert was in 1/10 of a second at that stage of the fight. Pieter Joubert finds himself 4/10 off Jan Spalmers. But let's go to Jan Spalmers and let's look backwards from there. Oh, look at that. It's super duper close.
Coming out of Goddard's, heading down the home straight towards Redgate corner. That is your top 5 cars working their way into turn 1, making their way out of Redgate. Then it's a slight climb before they get into that slight right-hander. That is Hollywood. Then through the Crano curves, they move now towards the old hairpin. Through Crano curves and the old hairpin they go, working their way over Starkey's Bridge, racing down towards the right-hander. That will be McLean's corner.
Well, there's a lot of very well-known names that you just mentioned there, but I mean, this track is pretty iconic. It's been around for a long, long time. Following through there on a Jan Spalmers, 0.4 of a second, taking the tighter line. Coming out of the corner is Pieter Joubert, Francois Joubert right in there behind him. Luc Lucchesi, top 5 qualifier going into this race. That's the Lego car, as Frankie refers to it, is a Luc Lucchesi. Luc Lucchesi right in there with them. But don't forget about that man in 5th place, Frankie. He's always there.
Johan Fourie. Always in there with a Castrol and a Monster Energy car. He's 5.1 seconds ahead of Space Joubert as we ride aboard with the Cape Town's Johan Fourie. Out of Goddard's they come. Down the main straight they go, working their way towards Redgate. He's got the best seat in the house, is Fourie, because he has got 5.3 seconds on the man that's in P6. So he's just watching the 4 of them as they make their way through the Crano curves. Ahead of him is Luc Lucchesi. Ahead of Lucchesi is Francois, and then Pieter Joubert. And your race leader is Jan Spalmers.
Under Starkey's Bridge they go. They take the climb now up towards the Schwanz curve, and after the Schwanz curve into McLean's. Now McLean's, you actually heard the tires screeching there as he went through McLean's. Blind rise, blind apex, and a semi-blind exit to that corner through Coppice as you go up Starkey Straight. Now, if you look on the right-hand side where they turn left, you'll see there's a little piece of track there where the bollards are. Now, that is the other layout of this very same circuit. Luc Lucchesi on the move.
There's a fight here for P10, and Leonardo Baccari has got them all stacked in there. We'll have a look at that one now. He's got Stephen McCarthy, Ian Riddle, and Raymond Duggan right in there. There's McCarthy, and the 18 car of McCarthy has a go at him, and up on the inside and through in the Melbourne hairpin. It is Stephen McCarthy that takes that position away there from Leonardo Baccari.
Well, Leonardo's actually got a bit of pressure from behind because Raymond Duggan is right in there as well. He has not been lost whatsoever. We've actually got two cars in the pits. I think it's Peter van der Spey that's just worked his way out of the pits. And I think the other one was in fact Willem Botha. Yup, there, Willem Botha that's coming out of the pits. Somebody running very slow there. It was actually Willem Botha that had an incident just a couple of seconds ago. Let's see what happened with Willem Botha. I'm not sure, he locked into somebody. I think it was the car that was coming out of the pits slowly. Yep.
Eugene Manouk.
Eugene Manouk was making sure that that front group that went through and made sure that he didn't make any contact with them. So as we go back to live that battle with Johan Fourie is getting closer.
Johan Fourie is 7/10 of a second behind Luc Lucchesi. That's the man we're riding on board with here. Johan Fourie. Just ahead of him, you see Luc Lucchesi. There is 0.8 of a second between Fourie and Lucchesi. That's in there ahead of him. And Luc Lucchesi is 0.6 of a second behind Francois Joubert, who's 0.4 of a second behind Pieter Joubert. And Francois is the quickest man out there with a 1:21.007.
Oh, that front four, there's nothing in it. 3/10, 3/10, 7/10. Johan Fourie finding himself just outside of a second. So Johan's actually losing the toe now, but you can see he's pushing very hard, using the whole circuit as he works his way under Stockage Bridge through the Schwantz curve. Now you got that blind rise going into McLean's. McLean's, you enter completely blind. You only see the exit of that corner once you get there. And also Coppice, one of the well-known corners in motorsport worldwide for decades and decades. Coppice, McLean's, Starkeys, Old Hairpin, Hollywood, Redgate, they're all very, very well known. Through towards the, on the right hand side where the beacons are, that's the Fogarty S's. We miss out on that and we work our way down towards the Melbourne Hairpin. We're riding on board with Johan Fourie, multiple South African main circuit champion, as he goes after South African ex-karting champion Luc Lucchesi and 3 of the fastest iRacers in South Africa, Francois Joubert, Peter Joubert and Jan Sparmers.
But Johan Fourie is now 1.4 seconds behind Luc Lucchesi, and that front 4 is riveted to each other. You just see them there side by side. Lucchesi is having a look.
Something's got to go.
Lucchesi is having a look, and he's having a look at Francois. Peter Joubert has got his nose up front. Jan Sparmers is in second. Francois Joubert is in third, but Luc Lucchesi had a serious look there at Francois Joubert. And on the dirt, he gets that thing out of shape. And that's going to bring Fourie back into play.
Yep, Luc Lucchesi looking forward will all of a sudden have a whole heap of ground in front of him. But looking backwards from his car is going to be a completely different scenario, because there's Johan Fourie. Johan Fourie's within a 0.3 of a second right now. He's right there with him. There's nothing much in it. Francois Joubert is now starting to put the pressure on as well, as we see Francois Joubert under braking, going in pretty late. Francois Joubert looking pretty decent now, going forward from Francois Joubert. That's what 0.4 of a second looks like when you're doing these very, very fast speeds. Pretty late in on the brakes is Jan Sparmers, runs it wide, and Jan Sparmers finds himself farming on the outside. And well, he was lucky to hold on to that one. Doing once again a classic cutback is Francois Joubert. Francois Joubert all over the back of Jan Sparmers.
Down the home straight they go, working their way into turn number 1, and there is nothing between Peter Joubert, Jan Sparmers, Francois Joubert, Luc Lucchesi and Johan Fourie, and here comes Francois up on the inside of Jan Sparmers, and Sparmers drops down into that third position, into the clutches now of Pantera Racing's Luc Lucchesi.
Yep, Luc Lucchesi's right there. He wants to play with. Luc Lucchesi's with a Lego car, going to be on the wrong side of the circuit there. Now they work their way up onto the hill. That's that blind rise. That's McLean's. Now we're running through towards Coppice. Can you have a look up on the inside of Coppice? No, he'll probably go for the run down the Starkey straight. But I must say, Jan Sparmers went a beautiful line through McLean's and Coppice, and actually got a bit of a break there to make sure that he doesn't have too much of a problem from Luc Lucchesi, keeping 0.3 out of Luc Lucchesi, who's pushing very, very hard.
Working their way now down towards the Melbourne Hairpin, into that right-hander they go. Then they've got a bit of a straight before they go into the final corner. The left-hander, that is Goddard's. Through Goddard's they go. That's another hairpin. Down on the main straight, the Wheatcroft straight. That's the home straight, heading down into Redgate. Leonardo Bakari in that 22 car. That's a replay of him going into that right-hander, and does a swap on him coming out of that right-hander.
Just a little bit too loud coming out there. So let's go from the front end of the field. Peter Joubert, the man that's leading him out, and I tell you what, he did brilliantly. Did Peter Joubert right from the beginning of this race. Francois Joubert in there behind that, Jan Sparmers, then it's Luc Lucchesi, then it's Johan Fourie. Here comes Swace Joubert. He finds himself 8 seconds further back. So the front 5 have up-dusted and disappeared away from the Valvoline car. Robbie Ting's the next man in there behind him, and then he's got a bit of space between himself and Gerald Maget. And I must say, Gerald Maget will have a bit of things changing up behind him, because it's Timothy Stanton in the Roland Manifolds. Roland Manifolds, frankly, that's iconic. Roland
Yeah.
Manifolds, the father
Yep.
of Timothy Stanton, Rolly Stanton. And it's nice to see that he honors his dad and has that signed writing on his car. 14 seconds further back, we find Stephen McCarthy. He rounds out the top 10. Then our man from Port Elizabeth, Ian Riddle, had a lovely time having a chat with him at Elder Scribunti during the course of 2022 when I went up to Elder Scribunti to do some commentary on the Formula GTI Challenge. Alert Motorspace being involved with them for the last couple of years, and had a lovely chat there with Ian Riddle. 6 seconds further back is in fact Leonardo Baccario. After that spin, he finds himself down in 12th position. Then this battle royal, Raymond Duggan moving in there just ahead of Peter van der Spey, and Peter van der Spey having a good look. Peter van der Spey's up on the inside. He will be on the right line now for that. Hugh Ben, can he do the braking? Perfect braking by Peter van der Spey. Closes the line off. He closes the line on Raymond Duggan. Says, I didn't do all that late braking for nothing. Let's make sure that I stay there. And not a happy race at this stage of the fight. Very lonely. Willem Botha as we go back to Luke Lucchesi. Luke is on the move. He's 0.2 of a second out of this one. And now he finds himself literally 0.1. He gets himself up onto the inside of Jan Spalmers. Is he going to be able to do the same type of late braking? Yes, he does. Does he get the power down? Yes, he does. But other than what Raymond Duggan did, he didn't go and block the line. He was far enough forward to be able to hold on to that one. Jan Spalmers fighting to stay in that top four.
Getting that thing slightly out of shape is Spalmers, and now there's one. Faree's going to nail him. Faree has got him. Faree has got him. We should see Faree come through on the inside. No, he had him for a brief moment, but Jan Spalmers stays ahead of Johan Faree. Now this is going to result in Lucchesi getting away from them. Spalmers is 1.3 seconds behind Luke Lucchesi. Faree is 0.5 of a second behind Spalmers, and if Johan Faree cannot clear Jan Spalmers